as you know, we're doing different spotlights at the moment just to trial them. So it is an interview with, or a session with Sally from La Cucina Italiana. I'd asked her for a few notes, just a few notes. Anyway, she's given me her life story. So we won't be doing all of this. It's okay, it's okay. So I'm going to fast forward to, I won't say what year she was born. She was born not very long ago, not a long time ago, in St Albans, and she ended up in Fordham. And her dad was a bit of a handyman, full-time carpenter, and her mum worked in the theatre at Glyndebourne, the opera place, and she used to work in the Covent Garden, so a very creative upbringing. And they had a lot of colourful people coming and going from the theatre, the ballet and opera. It sounds lovely. Eclectic range of regular guests, and this is where her passion for cooking started. So tell me about that, when Mum used to have guests coming in.
Well, yeah, Dad was an antique dealer and he had a shop. And by that time we'd moved to a much bigger premises with a big shop. And we used to get all sorts of visitors coming from, because Dad used to do antique fairs, so we used to get people coming from abroad and people coming from the States. There were quite a few Americans around as well who were buying at the time. And so Mum used to have the job of having to cater for all these people. So some of which she didn't mind at all, others she wasn't quite so keen. But anyway, so we did it together, and we used to spend sort of weekends preparing food and cooking for these, entertaining these guests, and it was wonderful. And I used to help Mum all day, and we'd sort of come up with some dishes and decide what we were going to do. And then I wasn't actually allowed to be there when they all arrived, which was a bit harsh. So I used to sit at the top of the stairs in my nightie, thinking I could smell it all, I could hear them all going jump, jump, jump. And I used to think, oh, I want to be there. And we lived in this really old house that had bells in all the bedrooms. And I used to sit there going, and eventually I used to ring the bell. And my dad used to come to the bottom of the stairs and say, come on then. And I was allowed to go down and say hello to all these guests.
And it was your dad that gave you the travelling bug, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we used to go on trips, buying trips together, which was great fun. We used to. He introduced me to Spain.
That's it. Yeah.
And I think that was a culinary journey as well, because you just eat your way around. You plan where you're going for lunch, and then you plan where you're going for supper. You know.
And you fell in love with the Paradors, didn't you?
I did. Oh my God, Paradors. Amazing. I mean, and I just thought, why don't we do that in this country? You know, all of these old buildings that would otherwise be falling down are bought by the government, and they turn them into the most amazing hotels. And so I decided that for my honeymoon I was going to go Parador hopping, which means that you stay in these amazing buildings that you otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity to even look into. And they don't cost very much. They cost about the same as much as a travel lodge over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, having got the travel bug, you went off for a while, didn't you? In the summer, you went to Greece, was that right?
Ah, yeah, that was a love affair.
In more ways than one.
Yeah.
we won't do that bit.
No, but it was rather good because I got there and we fell out. So we decided that we wouldn't fall out and we'd stay friends. And he taught me, and I moved in with his family. Amazing, amazing experience actually living with a Greek family. And I got a job, and I used to go from Piraeus. In the day I worked in a cafe in Piraeus, and I used to come home to Aegina, the island where they lived, in the evening, quite late at night. And I used to sort of creep in, because I lived with Granny, Grandpa and Great Auntie, and I ended up cooking for them and eating with them, and I cared for their grandfather, who wasn't very well whilst I was there. But what made me laugh was that I used to get in, I used to sneak in, and I had to go through Granny's bedroom to get to mine, I think. And she'd be sitting on her bed watching telly, and she'd say, come, sit. So I'd sit there, she didn't speak any English at all, and we'd watch Benny Hill. And she found it, she just, loved Benny Hill. I don't know why she didn't understand anything that was being said, but it was all that, you know, when they go, she just loved it.
And so you helped nurse the grandfather, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Until he died,
yeah.
And that sort of set you on an interesting path, I feel, into nursing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes.
I know what happened.
I didn't really do very well at that. No. I wasn't very good at being told what to do by other people. So I got into trouble a lot, and I think if I not decided to leave, they would have asked me to go. That's kind of what. Okay. And I got to the stage where they give you so many rules, and they tell you you've got to do it like this, and you've got to do it like that, and you've got to dress wounds like this, and you've got to do it. And I just think, oh, fuck's sake, don't do that. Sorry, you don't have to do it like that. And I'd have patients saying, can I have that little blonde nurse over there to dress my wound, because she knows how to do it. And I used to do it how we wanted it to be done, not how they had said it would be done. So of course I was always in trouble. And there was one occasion actually, this poor lady, she died eventually. I don't think I killed her. She said to me one morning, she had this gaping wound that just wasn't going to heal. And she was very weak, and she was very ill. And she said to me, do you know what? The only thing I want is a bath. So I said, sort of. And she'd be told she couldn't have one. And I said, right, that is what we are going to do. So I waited for all the ward sister and the senior nurses to go on their coffee break. And me and my mate Deirdre got her bed, and we ran up the corridor with her bed, took her down to the bathroom at right at the end of the corridor, got her in, bang, shut the door, and I said, right, now you can relax, because they can't come in. So we gave her a saline bath, and we lowered her down into the water, and she just went, ah. Oh. She hadn't had a bath for months.
Yeah.
And it was just what she wanted. And her husband was just, I don't know when she died, a few days later, but it was just what she wanted. So she died happy, you know.
Good. But the NHS sadly couldn't hold on to her, sadly, could they? So you came back to Cambridge and started working in the restaurant trade.
Yeah, that was fun.
Go on, tell us about that.
Well, I wasn't particularly well at the time. I think, well, not in the head, but I don't know. They told me to go. So I got on the train back to Cambridge with my suitcase, and they told me I should be on bed rest or something, and I just thought, oh, do me a favour. So I walked into town, and I looked at various restaurants, and I just walked into this restaurant and said, have you got any jobs? And they said, yeah, when can you start? And I said, now. So I was on doing a shift that night, working in this restaurant, and there were 3 girls in the kitchen and 2 of us front of house, and I think I'd been there a couple of days, and they said the manageress is going on holiday with the chef. They were partners, and we really wanted to know if you could run the restaurant. And I just went, yes. So we just played restaurant for 6 weeks. It was amazing.
And that's when you started sort of sowing the seeds of, it was always in the back of your mind then, wasn't it, a bit of catering maybe?
I think it might have been, yes. It's a sort of default setting, I think.
Yeah,
I'm quite sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to skim over the next bit because of time, but basically she then trolleyed off to London for a bit and did all sorts of marketing, didn't you?
Yeah. I took life a bit more seriously.
Yeah, so you played being a grown-up for what, 10 years maybe?
Didn't last long.
Was it 10 years, 5 years? Yeah. Something like that anyway. So she was a grown-up for a little while.
Oh, it's a bit longer than that.
No, I think it's a bit longer than that, actually, probably about 15 years. But then it wasn't really working for you. I think you fell out of love with it a bit, didn't you, when your partners...
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say too much about that. So she realised she was spending too much time going back and forth to London, commuting into this corporate world, which she'd fallen out of love with a bit. And you came back to Cambridge and worked for some advertising or marketing?
Oh yeah, no, I wanted to go freelance, so I worked for a couple of agencies. Where I met a designer who I'd sort of decided I was going to go freelance, but I just needed to get some contacts. And so I handed my notice and I said, right, that's me, off I go. I'm going to be a freelance marketing person. And this chap, Brian, said to me, so whose portfolio are you going to show people when you're touting for them? And I went, I don't know, I haven't thought that through. And he said, well, do you want to tout mine? So I said, oh, yeah, all right. And it took off. We set up a company together and we did an enormous amount of work for the colleges. And he was a very, very good designer. So it was a really good partnership. It worked really well. Yeah.
And what happened there? Why did you give that up in the end?
We both had a bit of a funny time because I was going through a divorce, and that sort of hit. It happened all very, very suddenly, and he he said to me, "Do you think his wife worked with us?" And he said, "Do you think Kelly's seeing someone?" And I said, well, it's funny you should say that. And he said, why? And I said, well, she's changed her image completely. And he said, has she? And I said, well, yes, she has. She'd gone from having shoulder length hair to this to a sort of absolute crop top with a what do you call them? Yeah, like a rockabilly.
Okay.
She'd gone all, and I thought, actually, she looks like a lesbian. And he said, yeah, she's seeing someone. And I said, oh, she is. And she said, is she seeing another woman? And I went, oh, right, okay. Right. So, yeah, we kind of, he was having a bit of...
So it's a perfect storm, and it just meant that you both went your own separate ways. Yeah. Okay, so this brings us on to Italy.
Yeah.
So you left that business,
Oh, yeah.
and you were picked up and bundled off on a plane to...
I have these amazing friends who could see that I was struggling a bit. And in fact, my friend remarried, and she wanted to introduce me to this new man in her life. And so we went to London. She had to go off and do something, so I had the children. And I had the opportunity to spend some time with him. And he said to me, I could understand why she'd fallen for him, because he was just gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. Anyway, so I contained myself, and we started having a conversation, and he said, Sally, he said, I understand you've been having a bit of a tricky time recently. And I said, oh, yeah, it's just a bit, and he said, I just wanted to let you know that I have an apartment in Italy, and if you ever want to go, what else is yours? And I just sort of thought, what? Things like that don't happen. And he said, actually, hang on a minute. And he fumbled about his pocket and he said, there you are. There's the key. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, you're going to rue the day you ever met me, because I'm going to take you up on that. So that was my introduction to Italy, yes.
And you're in Tuscany?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And I've got here that you found your mojo again.
Yeah, I did. It kind of reignited things for me, and I suddenly realised that I'd been probably wasting a bit of time, and I needed to get on with it.
So that's when you came up with the idea.
It came up. I didn't. How
did it come up?
It emerged when I was at a birthday party, and my friend Kate's sister rang me up and said, we're doing a surprise party for Kate, can you come? And I said, yeah, sounds brilliant, where is it? And she went, oh, it's at home. I said, Kate's home. And I went, oh, right, okay. Anyway, so I got there, and we just had this amazing lunch. And we sat out in the garden drinking Prosecco, and we had little canapes, and then we were called in for supper, and we sat with the children, and we all ate along this long table, and we had the food just kept coming and flowing on. And we didn't have to worry about planning it, we didn't have to cook it, we didn't have to wash it up. And as I was sat there on my dessert, I think by the time I got to the IJO, I just thought, I could do this. So that was when the concept was.
So you're not a formally trained chef or anything, you're just a good cook. I
would like to think so.
But that's basically
I love
it. You've honed your cooking and you've chosen Italy as your kind of
It just seemed to
spiritual
make
home.
sense. Yes, it all just sort of came together. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you've launched, how long ago was it? It's not that long.
March.
March, so you're almost coming up to a year. What's been the best bit so far?
The people I've met. The people I've met, and the generosity that people have extended to me has been amazing, and the support that I've been given is just wonderful. And I mean, you, for example, introduced me to Emma.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing wine tours next year.
Brilliant.
So
My work is done.
Yeah. So I'm not quite. I mean, I had no idea where this was going to go. I just started, and I think Susie said to me, "Well, if you don't do it, you'll never know, will you?" So I just thought, well, okay, we'll give it a go. And I'm doing next summer. I've been invited back to cook for the Friends of South Bank Symphonia, which was the orchestra that I saw when I first went there, and I'm going to be cooking for them.
Amazing.
So who'd have thought that? I just wouldn't have believed it.
So we're almost on time. So one final question. If you could have anybody for dinner, you could cook for anybody for dinner, dead or alive, who would it be?
Jamie Oliver.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, I'd have Jamie round because he's my mate. I mean, he doesn't know it yet. I mean, I talk to him all the time. He's there. We put the book on the table. And I say, right, come on, Jamie, let's go. Yeah. No, I'd love to meet Jamie Oliver. I think.
Well, we might be able to arrange that. I'll speak to you afterwards. That's really
okay.
interesting. Essex boy, Essex girl, we're there. So, thank you very much. Well, that was a little snippet of Sally and La Cucina Italiana, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Pleasure.
Thank you.